Tesnick from Testing Power Sports in Richland Center, Wisconsin. I'm about to do another customer walkthrough video, delivery video on a Deep V tracker boat. Starting at the helm, we have full instrumentation, starting along with a tilt helm with hydraulic steering. This gauge is a tachometer and also has a trim up and down gauge. Over here we have our speedometer along with our fuel gauge. Over here we have our water pressure gauge, showing that your motor is circulating water, and then over here we have a volt gauge. Coming over here to our switch panel, we have several switches. Some are 3-position switches, meaning we have an on, we have an off, and we have an on in another function. And then we have 2-position switches, which is just simply on and off. So you need to be conscious of those different types of switches so you don't end up with a battery drain issue. So starting here, we have an aft aerator, and so this is your rear live well aerator. You can have it in an auto function, which it will circulate water within the live well every so many minutes, or you can put it into a manual function. Over here we have our forward, so our front live well has the same function, the auto or the manual. Come over to this switch, and this allows us to recirculate. So the recirculate is gonna, instead of drawing water from the water that you're in into it and refreshing the water in the live well, this is going to recirculate the water that's within the live well. So depending on, which I'll show you in a moment, depending on where our valve is positioned in our live wells, it'll either recirculate the water in or it will pump the water out. And I'll show you that next. You have the same function for your aft live well. I'll finish up the switches and we'll go to that. So here's another 3-position switch. We have navigation lights. Off is in the center, and then we have anchor lights. So that's just gonna leave your rear stern light on. Bilge pump, it's a manual bilge pump. Of course, with an up position, it'll pump water out of your hull. And then we have our horn. So at the live well, referencing back to the recirculation pump out switch, here is what I was referring to. So this red piece here is the valve that will either allow the live well to be pumped out or to recirculate the water within. So the way I like to remember it, if I pull it out, it's in the pump out position. So pull out to pump out. When I push back in, it's going to just recirculate the water inside the live well. When you do pump out, it will not completely drain the live well, so you will need to have to pull this plug, which is in the very center of the live well, to then completely drain it out dry. The aft live well does have a bait well as well. Of course, the bucket that comes with this for going to the bait shop, and then once you get to your boat, you can set this in, and of course it's got this live well is full length, so it's in the same water. In your front live well, here is that same valve that allows you to either pump out or recirculate the water within. Same drain in the bottom that gets plugged when you're using it. We of course have our throttle control. Couple things to know about here. We do have this kill switch that needs to, this tab needs to be put onto the red toggle and flipped up to run. And then of course this is to be fastened to you when you're using the boat. The throttle control has an up and a down trim position that you're able to adjust while you're planing off. You also have this throttle override, or the shifting override, so this will allow you to shift the control forward to advance the engine RPMs without shifting the motor. Once you come back to neutral, then it resets. Now it'll shift along with advancing the throttle when you advance this forward or back. In the bow of the boat, we have some additional controls up here as well. So we do have the ability to trim the motor up or down when you are up in the front of the boat. If you're trolling and get into shallow water, it gives you that ability. Also, our trolling motor plug hooks in here. Every time that you're not using the trolling motor, you should remove the plug so you don't run the battery down. On our trolling motor, we also have the ability to see if our battery is, what state of charge our battery is. Also on the front of the boat, we have an area for some tools, and we also have a cup holder. And then I have inserted the bow light in place. So this is when you're at night, you're able to put your lights in, and then in the back of the boat you have the same type of situation. There's an access plug that the stern light will slide into. And then these are stored in that compartment on the starboard side of the boat. Once your hood has been removed, then the process in checking the oil, which is outlined in your owner's manual, is first we need to lift the motor into a horizontal position. So as far as it'll go up, we leave it sit for about 3 minutes and then bring it back down to its normal operating position. And then at this point, we can pull out the dipstick, and on the dipstick we have a low level and a high level. We need to be between this operating range. I'd like to go over our fuse block locations. On this particular boat, there are actually 3 places that you can find fuses. One of them being the engine. We have a diagram of what the fuses are for, and they are located behind this cover right here. On our battery, we have this main circuit breaker. So I like to think of this as the main breaker on your, like on your house panel. If this is tripped, this little yellow tab right here will be out at a 45-degree angle. You simply just need to push it back in and reset it, and then it'll restore power to the entire boat. So this is your main breaker. And then up front, underneath the helm, is a fuse panel, and the fuses are all labeled, and they will all, if anything on our actual helm was not working, that would be an area that you would look to see if you had a Okay, now I'd like to go over our trailer. Of course, our trailers come with a swing tongue. This particular one, it does not have surge brakes. So all we have for trailer hookup is our 7-pin connector, and then our safety chains. We latch down. It requires a 2-inch ball. Once latched, we have a pin that we're able to put through the tongue to make sure that stays secure. Some of the other features we have on the boat is a safety strap. So this is exactly where this is supposed to be hooked. This is designed if our main winch strap breaks, then this strap would then would retain the boat. Here's an area that an optional spare can be added. Of course, we come standard with the tongue jack, and then we have greasable hubs. So you simply would pry this cap off. Underneath this cap, you would have access to a grease zerk and be able to grease the axle bearings. The back of the boat comes with these transom straps. To release, you simply just lift this lever up. You can grab the strap and pull it. And it also comes standard with a transom saver. And then also I'd like to point out where the location of our drain plug is for our hull. And then the last thing on the trailer is make sure that after 100 miles you retorque the lug nuts that are also located underneath this cap.